So we've had another few of the upcoming combat patrols revealed this week, and today we're going to have a look through what is probably my favourite of the bunch, which is the brand new Black Templars Combat Patrol. This will very likely be going up for pre-order alongside their codex, which is very close on the horizon. I don't think we've got a confirmed date for it yet, but we know it's coming. We've seen the cover of the codex, so that should be going up for pre-order, I imagine probably within the next few weeks, maybe month. So there isn't really that long to wait until you will be able to get your hands on the codex and also presumably this new combat patrol. One of the reasons I absolutely love this combat patrol is just the sheer character of it, like the Space Wolves and even the Blood Angels, although that's a little bit more dubious because of how much the people don't tend to like the new Sanguinary Guard models, but certainly all of those combat patrols have got something going for them, which is that they have these thematic specific units, and this combat patrol has got almost entirely Black Templar specific units. And for me anyway, that straight away makes it a lot more fun and interesting, certainly when you compare it to some of the other ones, not mentioning any names, Dark Angels, that are a lot more generic. The box itself looks to contain 10 Primaris Crusaders, 5 Sword Brethren, an Emperor's Champion leading the force, and then the only generic unit out of the lot is a still admittedly very fluffy for the Black Templars edition of 3 Blade Guard Veterans. So it is super melee focused. It's got a load of swords and shields and melee combatants. It is just incredibly fitting for what you would want and expect as a Black Templars player. And whether you've already got a full army of them or you are just starting out, I think this box is likely going to be a very good one to pick up to add some of these thematic models to your collection. All of these models as well, they aren't the newest out there, they're not brand new, but they are actually all reasonably new, so you're getting a fairly modern set of kits as well. The Blade Guard Veterans of course came about in 10th edition, so only one edition ago, and even the Emperor's Champion and all the rest of the stuff, that came along with the Black Templars redesign, which was maybe back in 9th edition, but certainly not long ago than that. It was in 2021, so even that is only about 4 years old. So again, all of this stuff is pretty recent. It's going to be really good quality and really detailed and just look absolutely fantastic. And I mean, as a Dark Angel player, as you might expect, I do love the Black Templars anyway. I love their knightly crusader feel, which is very much in sort of a mirror image of the Dark Angels, who've got that knightly feel but in more of a monk style vibe. So I do love their general aesthetic. I love their focus on melee fighting and swordsmanship, and I just really do think that this combat patrol will absolutely hit that itch if you feel the same. And personally, I've always been tempted, if I was going to start a second Marine army, to go for Black Templars just because I love that aesthetic so much, and I think they're a really good match with my Dark Angels. I think both having both armies in a display cabinet side by side would just look so cool. Now on the points front, obviously we don't know full details because the new codex is imminent, so we can only go on current points, which may well change drastically in the codex. But for now, you are looking at 75 points for the Emperor's Champion, 150 points for the Crusaders, which is made up of a Sword Brother, 5 Initiates and 4 Neophytes, 80 points for the 3 Blade Guard Veterans, and then 140 points for the 5 Sword Brethren. So in total, you look to be getting 445 points now. And I think that can at least be a fairly solid guess for how much this will be in the new Codex 2. Barring, as I said, any huge changes, I don't imagine the points values are going to change drastically going into the new Codex. Maybe, 20 or 30 points higher or lower, we don't know. But I think it will probably get you around 425 to 450 points even in the new Codex. So it's actually a solid little force. It's not the best in terms of what we've seen from other combat patrols in terms of points value, but still it's a very nice way to start, and it leaves you a good little bit of points left over for something like an Apothecary or a Blade Guard Ancient if you wanted to add that just to flesh out the force to a 500 point list. The units themselves are also pretty decent for a Templars army right now, again barring any big changes in the codex, but they are all pretty usable for a Black Templars army. The Blade Guard are a reasonably cheap little anvil unit with their 4-up invulnerable save, 3 wounds. They can also re-roll invuln saves of 1 in combat to make them a little bit tankier. or just go for even more damage output with their power swords and reroll ones to hit if they choose that option with their Blade Guard rule. On the Templar specific units, the Crusader squad is a fairly varied set of models with a mixture of bolt rifles and chain swords on the initiates and the neophytes respectively. You also get to reroll advance and charge rolls for the unit, which is nice on a melee focused army, and whilst they aren't the scariest melee unit, they can be a pretty handy battle line unit to bring for a Black Templars army, and if you, for example, bought 2 combat patrols, you could actually boost this unit up to a 20 strong unit, albeit for a whopping 310 points. But if you wanted that sort of a more horde focused melee faction in a Space Marine army, then Black Templars are definitely the way to do that. The Sword Brethren are another fairly standout unit, being actually one of the more devastating damage dealers in the games that Marines have at the moment, especially in the right detachment. They have the option at the moment anyway, I have seen rumours that this might be going away, but at the moment they have the option to add +1 damage to their attacks with their Vow Sworn Bladesman rule, and that means they can be throwing out 12 Strength 5 -2 AP 2 damage attacks, 3 Strength 8 -2 AP 3 damage swings, and then an extra 4 Strength 5 -2 AP 3 damage swings from the Castellan. So it's a fairly scary number of pretty good damage attacks, and a unit kitted out with a Thunderhammer, Lightning Claws and Power Swords can quite reliably kill off a good 8 to 9 Marine profiles if they are your Oath target, and they can even quite easily kill off a full unit if you are getting something like sustained hits from the Righteous Crusaders detachment, so they can be a really impressive little damage dealer. Of course, they can be made even scarier by attaching the Emperor's Champion, who is the HQ from this combat patrol. He, of course, has his own incredible datasheet. He's got 6 Strength 8, -3 AP, 3 damage swings with precision that could actually be up to 4 damage if he's joined the Sword Brethren. He's also able to get +1 to wound rolls against character units, and that means he can very, very easily go into combat and snipe out enemy characters inside a squad after you've charged in, so he can be a really good character assassin. He's pretty capable of taking out pretty much any chapter master equivalent in combat. Azrael, Dante, even the new Logan should statistically die to his swings if he is with a unit of Sword Brethren. So it's a fairly good set of models, and as I said, they're all very, very cool looking and very thematic and fluffy for the Black Templars, so I just think it's a really solid combat patrol to get if you are new to the faction, and obviously the models are all so good and useful for Black Templars players if you already have some of them. None of the stuff here, barring maybe the Emperor's Champion of course if you already got him, is exactly a bad thing to get more of. In terms of the pricing, as usual, I would expect this to sit around the £100 mark as we see for most combat patrols, and that means in terms of value compared to buying the kits separately, we have got the Sword Brethren at £40, the Emperor's Champion at £26, the Crusader Squad costs you £40 as well, and then the 3 Blade Guard Veterans are £37. So all in, that comes to £143, meaning you could save £43 just buying this box rather than buying everything separately, essentially getting you the Sword Brethren or the Crusader Squad for absolutely free. And in terms of percentage wise, what that looks like, it's about 30%. It's pretty much 30% on the nose, so it's actually a tiny bit less than some others we've seen. Quite a lot of combat patrols tend to sit around the 33 to 35% off mark, so it's a tiny bit worse off than some others, but generally they sit around 30%, and this does hit that pretty much on the nose. So it's not far off the average, and as I said, it does essentially get you 1 unit free, which is basically 25% of the units in the box, so it certainly isn't a bad combat patrol to be picking up. Overall, I just have to say I really do love this box. I'm tempted, honestly, to grab 1 or possibly 2 to add a new army, a new Black Templars army to my forces. I think the units alone are really, really great and really, really fun. I actually think that getting 2 boxes may be a really good shout. It will get you a nice set of 10 Sword Brethren, 20 Crusaders if you wanted to run a big blob, 6 Blade Guard Veterans, and then of course the Emperor's Champion. And then you can very easily convert the second Emperor's Champion into another unit, maybe something like a Castellan, because he is such a cool model and he's got a lot of potential for conversion. Or you could maybe just sell him to recoup some of your costs. But if you do that, if you take the 10 Sword Brethren, 20 Crusaders, 6 Blade Guard Vets, and the Emperor's Champion, that gets you to a nice 815 points, so you can very, very easily slot in another character, something like a Chaplain, or maybe even the new Ancient, or the new Execrator model, which was shown off a few weeks ago. That will be a really nice second HQ, and likely still leave you enough points for maybe something like a unit of scouts for some objective and secondary play, maybe even something for a bit more heavier firepower if you want that, like some eradicators, or maybe even an impulsor to ferry your blade guard around. So getting 2 of these boxes and trying to build to a 1,000-point list, I think gives you a lot of options. It gives you a lot of units, a lot of big chunky units, but also enough points to add in something else that will give you a bit more utility. So I'm a really big fan of this box. It's honestly, I think, one of the best of the edition. I think it is right up there alongside the Space Wolves and the Death Guard. I would say it's maybe not the best, but I think this is definitely top 5 of the combat patrols for this edition. As always though, I'd love to know your thoughts on this box and whether you think you will be picking up a copy or 2. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and as always, thank you very much for watching. Please do like and subscribe for more Warhammer content from me, but until next time, I'll catch you later guys.